Hello everyone, this is Angela and welcome to my channel. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and click the notifications bell so that you will know whenever I upload any new content. So I got a significant number of views and gained some subscribers on my last video, and on one of my last videos rather, and I want to let all of you know that I appreciate it. I also got some hate mail, and I want all of my haters to know from the bottom of my heart that I don't care. I said exactly what I said and I meant it. Now, going back to those of my subscribers and those who generously watch my video, just know that I'm so grateful. I appreciate you, and be sure to continue to tune in. And at any rate, I hope that all of you are having a wonderful day today. And I want to go right into it. So in today's video, I want to give nature a voice. Nature already speaks loudly through actions, so I want to be the mouthpiece for nature for just a moment. Let's take a look around the world on this planet. Practically every species can be divided into two executive roles. One is a provider and one is a nurturer. One finds resources while the other one processes the resources in an effort to grow and nurture new life. These are both highly specialized and executive roles. Okay, let's look at the definition of executive for a moment so that we are clear on what nature is showing all of us. The definition that applies here is a person or group of persons have an administrative or supervisory authority in an organization. You see, it says that it can be one person or more than one person. It can even be a group. So nature is smart enough to understand that there are only 24 hours in a day on Earth. Nature understands that properly providing and properly nurturing are both such specialized tasks that it's best to designate each as an executive role. This ensures that the responsibilities are balanced between two beings within a species. Doing so will allow them to cooperate with each other in such a way that is best for supporting new life and continuing the existence of the species. Okay, so let's move along and observe those two beings, the provider and the nurturer. So nature has equipped the provider with the capability of gaining resources, protecting the territory that contains the resources, protecting the family, and producing opportunities for all to flourish. In a similar fashion, nature has equipped the nurturer with the ability to incubate the next generation until it is birthed onto the planet, and also to be able to nourish the next generation until it reaches maturity. Nature seems to understand that it would be risky to place the one who incubates the next generation into the position of having to fight off predators and fight off rivals, because one hit to the abdomen can cause a miscarriage and damage the next generation. Likewise, nature seems to understand that if the protector of the species has to be on constant alert for danger, then it will be difficult for that being to focus the much needed attention required to nurture the offspring, and harm may come to the next generation as a result of neglect. Nature has given the protector, typically given the protector, an apparatus that makes deposits, whether it is depositing pollen shaken off of a bee's body, or ocean current pushing sand into an oyster, or in the case of many species, the release of sperm. The protector is often the one who makes the deposits. Nature designed the nurturer with a receptacle, an inlet that receives the deposits and with time nurtures it into a different creation. In the case of an oyster, the sand deposited within it produces a pearl. In the case of a plant, once the pollen from the stamen portion of the flower is introduced into its pistil, the plant yields more flowers, trees, fruits, vegetation, and so forth. In the case of many species of animals, the deposit of sperm fertilizes the eggs of the nurturer. The nurturer incubates the fertilized eggs within the receptacle until it bursts out of it as a new life. Even in the case where adoption occurs, in humans as well as in other organisms, That is, that their own bodies were not involved in the reproduction of the adopted offspring. You will still see the nurturing and protective behaviors exhibited from the parents from the adopted parents towards the offspring. Okay, so with the intelligence of nature in mind, let's observe human beings. The men are the ones who are physically equipped by nature to perform the executive roles of provider, protector, and producer for their families, and women are equipped by nature to provide the executive roles of incubation, nourishment, and nurturing. The men have a bigger frame, a greater bone density, larger muscles, more blood volume because they lack a process that causes them to lose blood at regular intervals. They don't have a menstrual cycle. They have testosterone, which gives them greater physical strength. They have a deeper pelvis, which allows them to have a urinary bladder that can hold a greater volume of liquid. They have a higher amount of white matter in their brains, which is basically an insulator. This helps them to have a greater ability to recover from brain trauma when compared to women. The women have a more compact frame, which enables them to escape from danger with the children with greater ease. Now, let's go back to nature for a second. If there is a threat to the nurturer and her offspring, chances are that that threat is much bigger than she is. So since she is not physically designed by nature to defend against a threat, she can escape into a space where she and her offspring can hide that is also too small for whatever is threatening them to fit into as well. Going back to women, women have wombs that incubate infants, breasts that nourish them. The female pelvis is shallower and has a wider opening when compared to men. This gives the infant room to grow during its incubation in the womb and allows for passage when it's time to be born. Okay. Women also have a greater or a higher percentage of gray matter, which enables us to multitask. This is a crucial attribute when one is tasked with nurturing an entire community. It is primarily women whose hands are involved in the day-to-day activities of nourishing and nurturing others, from infants and children to the elderly to those who also have physical and cognitive challenges. Not only do we have to keep the young safe and nourished, along with all others, we also have to ensure that we are also taking care of ourselves, maintaining our delicate hormonal balance, and recharging ourselves from the non-stop stresses that are inherent to nurturing. Women have a lower metabolism as an adaptation against starvation. She not only has to use resources to survive, her body has to convert those resources into nutrients that help other lives to survive too. This is why the female tends to have more body fat in comparison to the male. So now that we have an insight on how to use the physical body to distinguish who is assigned which executive role by nature, what does this all mean? This means that men are physically suited to go out and get resources. In ancient times, it meant intense manual labor, such as clearing land, hunting animals, and fighting off other men who seek to take away resources. This means that women are physically suited to incubate and nurture life. She is physically designed to nourish others. Now, a bit of a disclaimer here. What we're doing right now is looking exclusively at how nature designed the physical body, because I know that there is a lot of dogma out there that tends to relegate people, especially women, to the function of their body parts. And that dogma all the while ignores the fact that one of the body parts is a brain. So this video is not a doctrinaire on nature. This is not about banging people over the heads with belief. This is about observing the intelligence of nature and understanding how we can enrich our lives with this knowledge. So with that in mind, let's take a peek at the Black community. Before we get too deep into the Black community, I want to make sure that we are all on the same page when it comes to one word, and that is the word majority. Let's take a look at its definition. When we look at the word majority, we can see it means the greater part or number, or to be precise, is the number that is larger than half of the total. This means more than 50%. The term majority is also opposed to or the opposite of the term minority. Okay? So now that we are on the same page, let's take a look at the majority of Black women within the Black community, also known as Blackistan, and assess their collective performance. Black women are equipped to incubate, nourish, and nurture. So let's ask the questions. Are the women incubating the young? The evidence will be seen in the growth of the population from one year to the next. So is the population growing? The answer is yes. Are the women nurturing the young? Doing things like changing diapers, burping babies, making school runs, waking up in the middle of the night with sore breasts and feeding the children, waking up in the middle of the night, putting the back of their hands on the forehead of children that are running fevers to make sure that they're okay? The answer is yes. Are they the faces that are interacting with teachers and staff, interacting with nurses and doctors on behalf of their young? The answer is yes. Women do so much more, but I'm keeping it simple here. From the perspective of nature, Black women are satisfactorily performing within their natural capacity. The majority of Black women are nourishing their children. They are nourishing them with food, education, ensuring that they are medically sound, as well as exposing them to other types of enrichment. The majority of Black women are nurturing their young to become the best that they can be. So long as the Black woman has resources, her children are also nourished the vast majority of the times. The Black woman has often sacrificed her own well-being for the sake of nourishing her young. Now let's take a look at the majority, or more than half, of Black men within the Black community, aka Blackistan, who are equipped by nature to provide resources, protect territory, and protect the vulnerable, as well as produce opportunities for all. First, let's look at provision or providing. What are the majority? Not the minority, but the majority providing. Are the majority of their names on leases, mortgages, and deeds to property? The evidence will be in communities where the houses are owned by Black men. The answer is no. In fact, many previously predominantly Black areas have been gentrified. Are the majority of their names on car notes or car titles? The evidence will be seen in how many Black people are driving their own vehicles versus riding public transportation. The answer is no. Are the majority of their names listed as benefactors on life insurance policies? Again, the answer is no. In fact, it is very difficult for many of them to obtain life insurance due to the fact that they've been incarcerated. See, the insurance companies have to assess the risk of the person they are insuring. The healthier the person and the less risky their lifestyle, especially if they are younger, the more likely the insurance company is to issue a policy on their behalf. However, when a person is deemed to be too risky, then this means that it won't be long before the insurance company has to pay out a claim for them, so they will decline coverage. So are the majority of Black men benefactors on a life insurance policy? Will their families feel financially as if they are still present, even if the Black man, for whatever the reason, is no longer physically with them? The answer is no. In fact, it is not uncommon for the family to resort to begging for donations from complete strangers in order to pay for his burial. What about medical insurance, automobile insurance, and so forth? No, no, and no. So there's a no on provider. What about protector? Let's ask those questions. Can Black women and Black children walk safely to and fro without fear of being attacked by another, especially another male? The answer is no. Can any Black woman, even if she has no makeup on and her hair is plainly styled, even if she's wearing a turtleneck and a skirt that reaches to her ankles, is she able to walk by a group of Black men without feeling anxiety from the risk of being catcalled, having obscene gestures made towards her, along with hearing inappropriate comments because of her hourglass figure? Is it a guarantee that if she's dressed very modestly, her full bosom, her full hips, her hourglass figure will not be the focus of someone's obscene attention? The answer is no. Can she decline a gentleman's advance to purchase a bottle of wine for her without the fear of being beaten and having her eyeball bitten? No. What about young Black men too, who are minding their business and who are just going about their day to day? Are they safe? The answer is no. So, no on the protection. What about producing opportunities? Can Black women and the children and the young adults access opportunities within the Black community when there is no provision and no protection supplied by the majority, not the minority, the majority of Black men? Here's what production looks like. One man knows a trade and he's good at it. He sees a boy who has an interest in learning the trade, and he deems that the guy may be good at it too. So the man takes the boy beneath his wing and teaches him the ins and outs of, for instance, construction, of being a mechanic, being a plumber, an HVAC technician, and so forth. So are the majority of Black men in a trade that produces an income and opportunities? Sadly, the answer is no. Is there an opportunity for a young Black woman that comes with being by the side of a young Black man during his struggling days because he's working on being a top athlete or an entertainer or working on a high income earning profession, such as being a doctor or a lawyer? Is there an opportunity that comes with working 2 jobs and paying the bills while helping him to nurture his talents? Will the majority of Black men reciprocate the nurturing that his Black girlfriend, fiance, or his first wife provided to him through his strugglehood? Will he reciprocate that by providing opportunities to her and their offspring? Will they all live better on the resources her nurturing positioned him to obtain? Sadly, in the majority of cases, the answer is a resounding no. So this means that the majority of Black men are failing to perform within their executive capacity beyond reproductive activities. Now, how does this appear in other species? How are the ones who fail to perform handled? What happens in nature? The answer is they are rejected and they are driven out.
It's rutting season, and males are competing for the right to mate. Rank is constantly reinforced and often contested. Their ultimate weapons are their curled horns that can weigh up to 30 pounds. They are literal battering rams.
So, speaking of nature, let's go back to nature for a second. Here are some peafowls. The term fowl is used to describe a bird, a large bird of any gender. The peahen is the female and the peacock is the male. Much like with chickens, they are technically fowls, where the rooster is the cockerel, and the female bird is also known as the hen. So back to the peafowl. In peafowl society, the peacock or the male puts on an elaborate display in order to impress the peahen or the female bird. If she sees that there is one thing wrong with him, she will simply reject him. If he's missing a feather or has one wing that is out of sync with the other wing, his plumage is not large enough, she will simply leave him where he is in favor of a more suitable mate. Nature does not require the peahen to stick to one color of peacock. She can mate with peacocks that have blue bodies, green bodies, brown bodies, or have completely white feathers. It doesn't matter. The peahen is not required by nature to help a brother out by struggling alongside a peacock in the rough while helping him to grow his small feathers into a highly prized plumage. That's not the peahen's problem. The peahen just simply takes one look, and if he's suitable, then she will mate. If he's not, then she simply walks past him as if he does not exist. In the eyes of the peahen, the peacock either has what it takes or he does not. She will not mate with a peacock based on keeping their offspring a particular color feather. The peahen does not live in a fantasy where if she struggles by her fellow peacock's side, that he will reward her loyalty with ample resources and opportunities. She accepts what she sees. It is either a pass or a fail. Nature did not design the feminine to maintain the color of an offspring or to provide resources for an able-bodied adult in her species. The peahen requires a stable environment that is safe and filled with resources so that she can focus her energy on nurturing their offspring. So if the peacock does not impress her, if he cannot guarantee that he is able to provide a stable environment by being physically fit enough to ward off predators and other competing males, then she will simply walk past him. In the peafowl society, a rejected peacock will simply join the other rejected males who wander from one territory to the next, begging for a peahen, a female peahen, to mate with them. Now let's go back to Blackistan. The overwhelming majority of Black women are nurturing without being provided resources directly from the father of her children. This is not only uncommon in most human communities, but simply put, this will not happen in the animal kingdom. As a result of not being provided with resources, this means that the average Black woman has to get by in one of a few ways. Either a stepdaddy has to come into the picture and become a provider. Shout out to the stepdaddies. If she does not get a stepdaddy, she often has to beg the community at large for a meager amount of resources and rations that she will use in order to nourish the children. Okay? Or she has to provide those resources herself. So far, the majority of Black women are performing within their feminine capacity as an adult. They are nourishing and nurturing their young, no different than any other feminine species. Whereas the majority of Black men, the ones that I often refer to as being the dusties, are not. So since the majority of Black men are dusty and are not performing within their masculine adult capacity, add to it that food stamps and welfare are barely enough to survive on, Black women have opted to use other opportunities to guarantee that their loved ones will be nourished and that they can focus on nurturing them, which is a very feminine approach to resolving an issue. Black women ensure that they have the shelter, the transportation, the opportunity. So essentially, the average Black woman is functioning as a double adult, a two-in-one executive, out of circumstances, not out of choice, not by choice. Black women are becoming police officers, firefighters, they're working on oil rigs, and so forth, because more often than not, she does not come from circumstances where she inherited resources that would guarantee her stability. She has to go out and obtain the resources herself. She has to be the benefactor, the provider, the breadwinner, because the majority of Black men have shown that they will not provide for her, even in cases where they were nurtured by her into opportunities that produce the ability to secure a large amount of resources. As I state this, I cannot help but to recall the day that I saw a Black woman hanging off of the back of a trash truck while I was driving down Diversity Avenue in Chicago one morning. This told me that she was facing some circumstances that were so severe that she had to resort to hanging off of the back of a putrid-smelling trash truck so that she can gain the resources she needed along with some work benefits just to ensure that her children, her family, just to ensure that everyone was nourished and nurtured. That does not make her masculine. I am positive that this woman did not grow a pair of testicles. She did not develop a penis or a beard or some chest hair. She does not have an Adam's apple. Her pelvis shape did not transform, nor did she begin to produce sperm. In fact, she is very feminine. The reason that I say so is because this is what the feminine looks like when the fight or flight response puts her into survival mode. This is how the feminine appears when she is desperate. She will do whatever it takes to nourish her family. She will jump on an oil rig, hold a fire hose. She will go into a mine shaft, drive a tractor trailer. She will operate a steamroller in a construction zone. She will strip naked in front of drunk men and dance in their laps. She will sell herself for money. She will do whatever it takes to stabilize her family. She would rather become a two-in-one adult than to leave her children unprotected and unprovided for. The Black woman is feminine, she is honorable, and she is noble. And above all, she is feminine. So, a woman who is working 2 jobs and going to school is not attempting to be a man. That is a very simplistic and asinine thought process. Think about it. How many single Black mothers, single mothers in general, are attempting to get signed on to play for the NFL? How many single Black moms are tackling a bunch of men for football in return for millions of dollars in income? Because, see, playing for the NFL is a career move that guarantees millions of dollars and is certainly stable. But there are no Black mothers that are auditioning for a role within it. It is impossible for her to become a man in any way, and whoever is throwing women into the masculine category are not only ignorant of basic anatomy and physiology, they certainly have no idea about the true nature of the feminine, let alone that of the woman. What you are seeing is a woman who is in survival mode and is damaging her body through stress and overworking until she can become stable for herself and her children. And her delicate hormone balance that is intended to keep her healthy and capable of nourishing others is thrown off. This is why African American women in particular have some of the highest rates of fibroids, iron deficiencies, at risk of hysterectomies, miscarriages, and stillbirths of all of the women in the United States. It is because she is in survival mode. And why is she in survival mode again? It is because she has to function as an adult in not one, but in two categories in order to give her children a chance to survive, when nature only intended for her to be an adult in one category, and that is that of the nurturer. And while we are on this topic, the average Dusty is not feminine either. I wish we would stop with that, considering that one of the most basic feminine behaviors is providing nourishment. And in most cases, a Dusty's children is living off of food stamps. They're living off of peanut butter provided by the government. He, the Dusty, is not doing all that it takes to nurture. Therefore, he's not feminine at all. So going back to Keisha, the average black woman. If Keisha is the average black woman, is being a 2-in-1 adult, by this I mean that she is performing both as a nurturer and a provider, then what does this mean for the majority of black men, the Dusties? What does it mean when the Dusty will not provide for his family, will not protect them, will not produce for them? As a matter of fact, if those were his only deficiencies, that would even be better than the reality that we often observe with him. The Dusty not only fails to perform as an adult in either category, he also brings harm to his family and the community that he comes from. He leeches their resources. He attacks women and children and people who would be considered vulnerable. He even takes lives. The Dusty is dishonorable. That's why the prisons are overflowing with them. This is why when they are released from prison, they will turn around and commit an even worse offense in order to guarantee their stay inside the prison walls the next time. On the lesser end, he is deficient at best. Here's the proof. You can go and see it for yourself. Here's how. Visit different communities outside of Blackistan on a weekday like Tuesday. Go inside the grocery stores, the malls, the places where people go shopping between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Go on a random Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. The majority of the people shopping around those times in communities outside of Blackistan are going to be mothers with young children, primarily infants and toddlers. You will see caregivers, predominantly women, who have vulnerable people they are looking after. You will see members of the retired population, the senior citizens. Go into many of the communities around the residences, and you will see predominantly women caregivers and senior citizens are the ones who are at their homes around the times of 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on random days like Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Outside of Blackistan, the overwhelming majority of men are working. If there are men in shopping areas outside of Blackistan, they are either going to be employees or contractors. Rarely are they going to be shoppers. Among the rare numbers of shoppers that are observed to be young men, you may find that they are working a night shift and they're just stopping by the store to grab something real quick before going home to rest up for the next evening shift. Now, let's go into Blackistan. Let's take some observations within Blackistan. Who is posted up outside of the grocery store begging for spare change at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday morning? Who is sitting on the couch, watching TV, playing video games, while other members of the household are out earning a living at 10 a.m.? You got it. The Dusty. Who is turning Keisha's home into a trap house or a brothel while she's at work? It's the Dusty. Who is primarily responsible for Keisha's house being raided by the police, being peppered with bullets during a drive-by shooting, and other random acts of violence leading to innocent people being injured or worse? It's the Dusty. Who is paying for the doctor bills and the funerals? Not the Dusty. Okay? So listen. your best bet is to kick him out. As a matter of fact, move away from him. Sell the house from beneath him, or if you're renting an apartment, then move at the end of the lease without a warning. Force him to figure it out. Nature has already equipped him with an advantage in doing so he needs to use it. If he has to go and beg organizations to give him a chance because he has messed up his own background, then that's just what he's going to have to do. What do you do when it's dusty inside your home? You clean it up and you throw it out. His childhood is over. If an average Keisha, the average black woman, is willing to go so far as to hang off the back of a trash truck going down a busy street in Chicago, or handle dangerous equipment in a construction zone, or join the military while the nation is at war, or strip naked and sell her body for money at the risk of injury or disease so that she can secure resources for her family, even while being at a natural disadvantage to function as a provider, then it is only fair for the dusty to either become a man and do whatever it takes to survive, or he can just kick rocks. Nature did not require the peahen to nurture the peacock. Similarly, nature does not require the woman to nurture an adult man. Nature did not task the feminine to help those who can help themselves. A mother cow will kick her calf with her own hoof when she knows that it can eat grass. Some mother birds will destroy the nest in order to make her adult offspring fly away. Fathers of various species will chase their adult male offspring out of their territory. It's all right in the eyes of nature to kick a dusty, a non-functioning adult male out of your presence, out of your home, and off of your resources. You see, the dusty, he has a problem. And although he may claim it is the woman's fault, the black woman's fault in particular, believe it or not, his problem is not with women. This may come as a surprise. His problem is not with how you wear your hair, your makeup, your clothes, or if you're living in a mansion and driving a fancy vehicle. His problem is not with your university degrees and letters or your careers and businesses. His problem is not with your skin tone or your hair type. His problem is with nature itself. He has a problem with his own executive assignment by nature. So certainly, he will have a problem with his counterpart who is on top of her own natural assignment. She's incubating, she's nourishing, and she's nurturing, and she's willing to put her life at risk to do so. And get this, the dusty also has problems with real men too. A man that is on top of his assignment by nature, he's providing, protecting, and producing for his family, and nature rewards him with resources. The dusty has a problem with him too. Yes, dusties hate real men. A real man becomes an instant comparison to the dusty and is an immediate demonstration on how the masculine appears when he performs in his executive role versus when he does not. However, the dusty knows better than to say it in a real man's face. Why? Because the dusty understands how the masculine perceives situations. The masculine sees things in black and white, on or off. You are either a threat or you are not. Once the masculine sees a threat, he acts with physical force. The average dusty understands that the moment a real man perceives him as a threat, and the real men will treat him accordingly. That is to drive him out of the territory and away from the women, the children, and otherwise the vulnerable. You see, I view things from an economic perspective, and that involves understanding what is happening to the resources and why. How is it that a demographic of people who are among the least educated, least employed, and exhibit a high level of criminality? I know that there have been some who were innocent and later exonerated. However, outside of this, there are plenty more who deserve to be thrown in jail cells. How is it that they have resources? The answer is that they do not have resources on their own. So, like leeches, they have to find a host and suck them dry of food, shelter, money, sex, transportation, and so forth. Part of the Dusty's strategy in securing unearned resources is to keep chaos and confusion going on about black women, going on about successful black men. It is to the Dusty's advantage to claim that there is currently a gender war within the black community. I disagree. Most black women, even among those who have decided not to have anything to do with dating or marrying black men, do not have a problem with providers like Russell Wilson. He's a good husband to Sierra. He's a good stepdad to her son by Future. He's a good father to their own biological children and so forth. The Dustys, on the other hand, and in true Dusty fashion, will have their Adam's apples bouncing non-stop, devaluing Russell Wilson as a simp for exuding true masculinity. The Dusty is masterful at his diversions. However, the Dusty diversions are only as powerful as the amount of time, energy, and resources that you allow them to have access to. Close your wallets, close your doors, close off your phone lines, and leave the Dusties behind. Nature does not require the feminine to protect, provide, and produce for the masculine. It is okay to leave the Dusty behind. That's all that I have for now. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and click the notifications bell. Share the video and take care until next time.